Does anyone here remember the movie with Don Knotts, The Incredible Mr. Limpet? Yeah? Mr. Limpet is a mild-mannered bookkeeper who wants to join the Navy in World War II. He's not able to enlist due to a medical condition and is rated 4F. His overriding wish in life is to become a fish. When he is on a visit to Coney Island one day, he falls into the water. The movie switches from live action to animation as he becomes a fish. With his new form and some crustacean friends, he discovers a way to help the United States Navy in their fight against the Nazi U-boats. That movie reminds me of my sister. Her husband, Steve, introduces her this way. This is my wife, Sue. She wants to be a fish. This is why she goes snorkeling every 6 months. While we were in John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park, she went snorkeling one day. I was kayaking in the waters to see the mangrove forests, and she came as close as possible to feeling that she so desires. She was swimming 100 feet offshore and came upon a very, very large school of silvery-bodied fish with a bright yellow stripe going down their back. There were thousands and thousands of them, and they surrounded her, and she floated with them all around her. For her, it was a dream come true, and her face just glowed. At the Windley Ken Fossil Reef Biological State Park that we went, we found Key Largo limestone, which is a fossilized coral. It was bought by the Florida East Coast Railroad and was built a railroad out of it in the very early 1900s. There, we went on a nature walk and learned about many of the trees. There were 40 types of hardwood and softwood trees that grew in that hardwood hammock location. Trees such as the sand pine, the cinnamon bark tree, the pond apple, the Jamaican dogwood, and the gumbo limbo. After we took that ranger hike, I turned to Sue and I said, "How did you like that hike with the ranger?" She stated, "No, I did not like it very much. I don't like trees. I like fish." All right. Okay. I care about trees. I really like trees. And I know many of you sitting here in this lovely sanctuary like trees as well. You speak about how they communicate with each other during session meetings. You know the names of your trees surrounding your homes. You share lemons and tangerines, guavas, pomegranates, and persimmons with joy. What magnificent trees we have right outside our sanctuary, the Live Coast California oaks. Trees are a theme in the Hebrew scriptures today. In Psalm 1, those who follow think about and actually meditate on the law day and night are like trees. Trees that have access to water, produce fruit, and live without withering, but grow and grow. In the Jeremiah passage, trust in God is equated with strong trees that have access to water so as to send out long, deep, deep roots. The relationship between God and Israel, or between God and ourselves, a joining which is symbolic of vows stated at a marriage, is what will keep us strong like an oak and not brittle like a burnt mesquite. I have a drought-tolerant garden in my front yard, and while working out there about 3 or 4 months ago, I noticed a small shrub-like plant. I have a holly bush, which I don't really like, but it's okay at Christmas time. But it looked to me like a holly bush, and I thought, I don't want another holly bush. I already have a holly bush. What has that got to do with native California plants? So I decided I would take it out. I got my trowel. It was, look, it's only this big. I got my trowel to dig. Nope, that didn't do it. Then I went, got a shovel, one of the wide, flat shovels, started to dig with that. Nope, couldn't get it out. I went and got my long, narrow shovel from the garage to go. I knew that would work. It did not work. I could not get that thing out. And do you know why I could not get that out? I think you do. It was a California oak. It was not a holly tree. And those roots go so deep that there is no way that I could get this little California oak out of my yard. We can be thankful to squirrels, can't we, for growth within our yards. You in Encino had designated a historic cultural landmark that was a California oak, and it was deemed to be 1,000 years old. It was 150 feet tall and 8 feet in diameter. It was on Louise, just down the street from us, south of Ventura Boulevard, 210 feet. It became ill, perhaps due to having an Encino reservoir that stopped the water from going down into the ground, and was finally knocked over in February of 1998. Do you remember this tree? Yeah. Due to an El Nino storm. Storms just like the ones that we are having. Storms which are blowing down trees and breaking them off midway up. Storms which create such havoc to trees due to the weakening of their very substance, due to drought, insect infestations, and lack of arborist care. What does our gospel reading have to offer us regarding our relationship to God through the incarnation of Jesus? Jesus has been in the mountains and decided to come down to the level ground. He comes to all Judah as well as to Jerusalem, to the Gentiles as well as the Jewish people. All were there because they had come to hear, to listen, and he was powerful. The power came out of him, and all were granted what they needed, to be healed. This is a Lukan construct, to get people to the right place at the right time to hear the sermon on the plain. But then, the writer of the Gospel of Luke had to decide to whom he was speaking. When messy urban disciples went to Caltech 2 nights ago, we went for a lecture on astronomy because our theme is stars and the universe this year. And the slideshow and the lecture was set for a certain audience. It was 30 minutes, and it was geared towards families. So children were welcome, everyone were welcome, and we drove through the rain and we got there. It was considered as a family offering, they said. It's set at the intellectual level of the general public, right? They wanted us to understand the arc of time, the creation that is still ongoing, and the cosmic noontime. 10 billion years ago, when the universe was the most robust, Rachel, the speaker, found it difficult to sit to the general public level of understanding, but she tried her best. The words of Jesus at this point in the passage were not directed to the masses or the general public, as Caltech stated they were dealing, but to the disciples. Granted, the writer of Luke calls that group a great crowd of disciples, but he was not speaking to all people. And why? Because these words of conduct were directed to those who were mandated to follow them, like those who were directed to follow the law in Psalm 1 and in Jeremiah 17. In this sermon, Jesus works to level the hierarchy, as shown by coming down off the mountain and gathering all on a flat plain. This can be viewed as well as his beatitudes, his woes, and his parables. His sermon is based on his mission to preach to the poor, the prisoners, the blind, the downtrodden. We just heard him read from the Isaiah passage a few weeks ago in our lectionary. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free. It is a clear message. We are told that while we weep now, we will laugh, that our enemies are as important to us as those to whom we gave a Valentine last Thursday, that those who are hungry will be filled. When people in need come to our church door, it is a gift that I can let them know that because of you, there are always a few meals a month ready for them to join us in due to Messy Church. There are always the care bags, like you saw earlier, that are ready, that I give out to people who come. and that our Jewish congregation's youth have made these for us to give out too, for people who are cold. And honestly, they do all smile. I have not seen a single one not smile at this ridiculous creation. Really, it's a little. Jesus is telling the disciples that they are the direct witnesses of his ministry, the ones who have seen him face to face and are equipped, therefore, to lead others and share the joy. Jesus is interested in us here and now, in our daily struggles. When the storms come with high winds and chilly temperatures, Jesus is with us. When we do not know which way to turn, we can relax, because within the Christian community, the pathway is clear. We know what we are to do, and we will continue to do it. There are woes aplenty for those who do not listen to others. We have the capacity, the interest, and the wherewithal to hear the cries of our community and seek to do God's will. The scriptures are our ever-gurgling stream, chock full of peace, possibilities, and calls to action, as well as assurance of calm and joy. Our hymns and music offered are to strengthen you for the walk in the world. Our prayers are with you whenever and wherever you are, and the benediction of peace surrounds you, as does God's love. You may want to be a fish swimming in the ocean, or an oak tree with roots going so deep no one could or would want to change you. You may wish you lived in another time period. You may wish you had children. You may wish you had more income, which is discretionary, or had no illness within your family, much less your own body. But you know who you are. You are followers of Jesus, who left us instructions which challenge and completely enrich us. You are blessed beyond belief, and the joy is there for you to hold on to forever. Let us listen and know what to do as we move in the neighborhoods where we travel this week. The gift of the Spirit, like the fish swimming around my sister, is with you wherever you go as you care for others. Amen.